Hi there, welcome to Hey Sound Guy, the podcast where I will be peeking behind the curtains of the wonderful world of music. Each week, I will be speaking to sound engineers, musicians, and industry professionals, and we'll have a little chat with them and see what it is that they do, and share some fun stories from the road. But for now, my next guest is a colleague of mine, works at Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club. He is also front of house engineer for the Blueprint Blues, and he's done quite a fair amount of studio work, working at places like Urban Chain, and there's a lot of fun stories to come out of that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good friend Charlie the Wolf Nash.
Hello.
Hey, sound guy.
Hey.
How you doing, man?
Good.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate you being here. I know it's a bit of a trek from Peckham.
Quite a long way. Hackney.
All right, sorry. Don't want to get that wrong. So, quite an interesting CV, if you will, that you sent me. But could you start by telling us who you are and what you do and how you got into it?
So I am Charlie the Wolf Nash, and I'm currently a sort of freelance live engineer, working with yourself at Ronnie's, Boisdale, and some other stuff, wherever people have me. And I started as a studio engineer at Urban Chain Recording Studios, now deceased, and then sort of did a bit of freelance live and sound engineering work in studios there. But I just couldn't make any money from that. I mean, when I was working at Urban Chain, I was getting £800 a month, and I was doing 6 days, 12 hours a day.
Jesus.
And it was just psychotic. And when I asked for more money, like a living wage, they sort of responded by giving me fewer days and hiring some like students or something to cover all the rapper gigs.
Damn.
And so I then said goodbye to that, and they went under. Not because of me, but whatever.
Well, you can. Let's just.
It was because of me.
It's because you weren't there anymore. Holding up the rafters.
Yeah, they were just sort of. They had no business acumen whatsoever. They had such sick equipment, but they're just idiots. Then did a bit of sort of bounced around some other studios. I had some like bands I was working with, and then you go record something at a studio with them, and then the guy says, "Oh, sick, you can do some days for me because I need a day off as well." And then did that for a bit, and then I got a gig at Crazy Cox at Zidel, which is like a tiny little cabaret room. And then
Crazy Cox, is that the place in Islington?
No, it's Zidel in Piccadilly. So it's an old.
Okay.
It used to be the Regent's Palace Hotel. It's an old Art Deco place, and they've got a little cabaret room there. And I was the Sunday guy there for a bit, so that was my first kind of live engineering gig. And things are different in live engineering from studio stuff.
Very much so. Much so.
But that was just cabaret, so it was really easy.
Playback and a couple of handhelds.
No, it'd just be like a piano and a vocal,
and
then a room of 80 people. And if there's a power cut, it would have been. You could still hear the gig; it would be fine. So that was pretty easy. Did that for a bit. Then how did this work now? Oh yeah, then one of the drag acts from there was going to be the resident like house band of this new club in Piccadilly, like right next to Zidel, which is going to be called RaRa Rooms. And he asked me if they were looking for a sound engineer to set up this new venue. And so I became the tech manager there, and that was pretty cool. That was like a nightclub. It used to be a porn cinema back in the day, and then it was.
Did they keep the furniture?
They didn't keep the furniture. No, they cobbled. Oh, the furniture was rank. They sort of made it out.
I can imagine.
No, but they made it. It was all cobbled together, like all built like really cheaply, a bit like a sort of
kind of like the studio.
I was going to say a little bit like this, like just finding stuff on the street, pallets and like old drums, for like cables, and then they'd sort of clad it in velour or something and call it a nightclub. But it was pretty cool because they do like big burlesque shows, and then it was a nightclub after that, until 4 a.m. or something, and they did that for a bit, and then they started doing gigs, like proper gigs, and I did like Ron Carter and Victor Wooten and stuff, and so these proper jazzers came in, and I get a feeling that they were lied to because it wasn't like the sound system that was put in. When they were installing it, I came in to have a look, and I was like, "Oh, why are you putting? How have you measured up the room, and why have you selected those boxes, and why did you hang them there?" And they were just like, "Oh, because it looks good." And so they'd flown these. It was a really awkward stage. It was a really hard place to put speakers in. So in fairness, but they flew these boxes sort of above the stage, and they were pointing. There's a balcony above. So like half the punters were downstairs and the other half on this balcony above, and that balcony had a glass sort of banister railing guard thing running all the way along it, and they just had these boxes at that height pointing straight into the glass.
So you'd get reflections.
So like it was just shit. It was just awful. It was such a terrifying place to mix a proper musician.
Yeah, I bet.
So, they did Paul Simonon, the Clash bassist, had his birthday there, and so they had the Gorillaz played with Noel Gallagher and Chrissy Hines and all these people, and a who's who of guests, and the engineer for him used our desk, which was Alan Heath Q24, and they'd spent like the day before, the 2 days before, with all these guests and stuff, rehearsing the bands with their desk and all this stuff. And he came in, he's like, "Oh, right, this piece of junk," and then did all the sound check, and everything was great, and everything's happy. And then, obviously, in sound check, you never sort of get a feel of how vibey it's going to be, and therefore how loud you need it. So sound check, you might accomplish without too many problems, and then the punters come in. It's really exciting, loads of energy in the room, and you want it loud, and it's just a feedback nightmare.
I can imagine with all that glass.
Oh, it was just awful. And then I was standing next to him, sort of doing the lights, and he's freaking out, going, "Why is this? Why is that?" I was like, "Sorry, mate. There's like, I couldn't have done any better. That's as good as it gets here. It's going to sound like garbage." But it was a fun gig. But he didn't enjoy it, and I know why. 'Cause it's shit.
Yeah. No, you get some of those gigs that are just. It adds a few grey hairs, doesn't it?
Oh, it was just. I mean, that was and luckily I was just standing next to him watching in panic, and there was nothing I could do. There was nothing he could do.
Yeah.
He just had to sort of
get through it.
I'd already learned to stop being stressed out about that sort of thing and just work with what you got. But obviously, if you expect a venue with these kind of people in it to be good, and so your expectations are higher. Absolutely. But the reality is that they can't get any better. And then when I did the gig, he was like, he's old, like super old,
Ron's awesome,
and deaf, like proper deaf. And then the people who were in charge of hiring the gear, they had got him like some old hardcore sort of punk rig, and they hired in a double bass that for some reason wasn't suitable or something like that, and he couldn't tune it because he couldn't hear or something like that. And then his tour manager was a prick and just refused to help in any way. And then he missed sound check completely. The punters came in, no sound check, and then he turned up, I don't know, 30 minutes after they meant to start, and then we tried to do a sound check with everyone in front of everyone, with everyone there. But now he's dealt with the reality of this bass and this bass amp, and he couldn't hear, and he just couldn't do anything. And then finally the gig started an hour and a half after it was scheduled to start, and all these people that are in there for that hour and a half freaking out, saying, "Why isn't this happening? Like, is he all right? What's wrong? Can I help?" Everyone wants to help at this point. And
well, that's nice at least.
And yeah, but it was a big room of people, and I'm running back and forward across the stage, obviously with fear and terror in my eyes, and I never want to do that again.
No, you get some of those gigs where you're like, "I'm glad this is over."
that was the worst
Yeah.
gig of my life. But then when they started the gig, it was all fine. I don't know. Everyone was. Why couldn't you have just done that an hour and a half earlier?
Yeah. No, you get that sometimes where you're like, all of this was just a big waste of time. Because if you just get on with it and do the gig, it's going to happen. Right. I mean, these guys they're professional musicians and they're very talented and they're very good at what they do. But I think they sometimes get bound down by details and things that are, in my opinion, not as important. I mean, I was chatting with Miles yesterday, and because we'd been listening to I just finished editing the podcast that I did with Simba, and on there, Simba and I had been talking about artists being difficult in regards to monitors and these sorts of things, right? Miles had this story where I can't remember the sax player, but absolute world-class guy, you know, and he was saying, you know, the signal chain, you blow your sax into a 500-pound microphone that then takes a bit of cable, and that goes to a desk that's 20,000 pounds, and another bit of cable that goes to an amp that's 2,000 pounds, and then another bit of cable that goes to your monitor that's another 2,000 pounds. I mean, these are high-end equipment, okay, and the sound that it represents is a true representation of what you put into it. Anyway, so this sax player, who world-class top guy, said to Miles, and obviously, you know, Miles being a great engineer, is like, best sound I've ever heard. You know, amazing, thank you. And then 2 days later, another sax guy, and again, Miles, same setup, same everything, and Miles is a great engineer. So, and then the guy was just like, this sounds thin and weedy. It sounds really terrible.
Nice.
And I mean, he was like, really wanted to tell this guy, well, it's kind of what you put into it that you're going to get out. But we have to be very diplomatic sometimes. But I think I've seen that happen a few times where artists come in and they get bogged down by specifics, which are really not that big a deal. Well, in my opinion, maybe for them it is, but they're such masters of their instrument, of their craft. If they could just focus on that and, you know, see it through, then a lot of headache and a lot of heartache would be completely negated.
Yeah, but you get a kind of you know, if they've had bad luck in the past and they don't know you, there's a kind of trust issue, and that can bias what they're hearing, what they're feeling, and you know, as a performer, you're really vulnerable on stage, and you're you know, you're communicating your soul, as if you want to say that, and if anything's standing in the way, or if you're unsure about anything, it's such a sort of weakness and such a vulnerability that I can understand why people are difficult. But going back to this gig, I just think they were lied to about, oh, it's a great club, you know, it's got all this gear, it's got all that stuff, and actually it's garbage, and, you know, wrong equipment. And then if each step of the way you're faced with a compromise.
Yeah, by the end of the day,
there's no trust in the room at all. Why should they, you know, trust their ears by the end of it? And I can totally dig that. I mean, they had a bad day, I think, as well. They'd missed their flight or something, and they were just running behind schedule.
It just started bad.
And he was old and tired, and you know, I think they weren't having. It was just a bad day for everyone, and it kind of manifested itself big time. But then once it got going, it was great.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, right. So you were working at this place, and done, by the sounds of it, you've done some big acts in there. Where did you go from there? And how you're mates with Gareth, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's how you got into the whole Ronnie's world.
Yeah.
Right. So what did you do after this RaRa Rooms?
Well, that was run by crooks. Right. I'm pretty sure.
The front
allegedly crooked people, and it went. Well, too many people got stabbed one Christmas, one New Year. One of which was like a 17-year-old kid who shouldn't have even been in there, and that just goes to show. And the security was run by the guy. So the guy is just dodgy as hell, and he ran a security company, and so they did the security for this club that he owned, and they didn't do security. They just let everyone in, knives, no ID, whatever, get in there. And so a lot of gangs used to go there and start fights with each other. So I did loads of grime rappers and loads of after parties from when they did like big gigs at Brixton Academy. They do these after parties there.
Okay.
And so gangs would come and just kick off. And
sounds like fun.
There's some fantastic footage. Someone leaked CCTV of the final night of stabbing, because there were 2 nights within about 2 weeks of each other.
I think I heard about this.
Yeah, and on the CCTV, it's incredible. Security guards do fuck all, and then the poor sort of perhaps visa-less, underpaid Indian bar staff are running around the place trying to pull girls out of the way, and there's chaos. There's like glass going everywhere, chairs getting chucked around, and security guys are like, I ain't getting involved. And these
not getting paid enough.
These
to get
little guys
stabbed.
are going in and pulling people out of the way, and it's like quite incredible. But anyway, so that went under. So I was out of a sort of decent job there, and then Zidel got the promoter, booker, whatever you want to call it, changed hands, and we're looking for a permanent guy because the bloke who was there, they didn't see eye to eye with him, and so I was like, oh well, I'm looking for a stable job, so I'll do it. And then so I signed a contract there to be the full-time tech manager, and I just slowly lost the will to live.
Okay.
And I did that I managed to stomach it for a year, but I was really...
What kind of gigs did they put on there?
It's the same thing. It's just like cabaret. Well, it started. So what they did is they changed it. So it was 2 gigs a day there, and it would be comedy or cabaret or theatre, lots of musical theatre. And I don't know about you, but I can't stand musical theatre.
Yeah,
but I know all the songs
time
now.
and place.
I know all the songs,
I bet.
and actually, I do respect some of the classic guys, like Sondheim and all that. But I was losing my mind there because I was getting, again, underpaid, doing way more work than was actually predicted or even in the contracts and stuff. And they were kind of taking a piss, and they didn't really give me a lot of leeway. And so I quit.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then around that time, I started doing the odd gig, like shadowing Gaz at Ronnie's, slowly getting my face seen into place, and just sort of, I guess, wormed my way in there as the next bitch.
Yes,
at the bottom of the ladder.
As you do.
Yeah.
And then work your way up, and now you're doing gigs there. You've been there now 3 years?
I think 2.5. I think.
Okay.
I think it's hard to say when you start there, isn't it? It's more of a state of mind.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I've been there 11 years now, 11 and a half years.
Shit.
That's a long time, right?
Yeah, right. You can see by the beard hair.
Yeah, you definitely. Yeah. So I would like to know, how did you get into sound engineering?
Well, I wanted to be a psychologist, so I studied that at uni and then tried to be a psychologist for about a year, but it was a little bit too much for me. And
Didn't want to deal with other people's problems.
it was like the people who worked in... So I was working in a forensic mental health, so outpatient place, so quite sick people who are now outpatients and sort of on the streets, and that's all cool. But the people who worked there, the psychiatrists and the psychologists, were very, very odd people. Very asociable, not antisocial. They just didn't have any social skills.
Nothing to offer, really.
They had no emotion, and no hobbies, no interests, no significant others, no lovers,
Wow.
girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever. Just none of it. They were vacant zombies, and I just...
Empty holes for other people's problems.
Yeah, and they were very systematic, and I didn't want to be like that. And it just seemed like quite a frustrating world as well. Like people, I don't know, it was quite heavy. and I wasn't really cut out for that. I don't think. But back at university in Leeds, live it, love it. I was doing.
Are you from Leeds?
No, but I studied up there.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've been to.
I'm just going to grab my tea real quick. Yeah, keep going.
I'll just talk to an empty table.
Talk to yourself.
I don't know if you've been to Leeds, but it's absolutely banging.
I've been there.
They had more nightclubs than people, and it didn't matter what day of the week it was. If you wanted to go see some breakcore, you could do that. If you wanted to go see some black metal, you could go do that. You know, if you wanted to listen to some like Ninja Tunes, hip hop stuff, there was a club dedicated to that.
Right.
And so it was wicked. And the West Indian Centre, it was this kind of, well, as it sounds, West Indian kind of dancehall type place. They used to host like dub parties and jungle raves and stuff. And me and my friends put on a trance and techno night there.
Fantastic.
And then so I got to help out with setting up the sound system and all that stuff. That was all very exciting. And Opus, by the way. And so that was fun. It was a kind of professional sort of looking at all that stuff. And then after I sort of bottled the psychology thing, some friends of mine were going to SAE, and they were like, "Yeah, it's wicked." So I signed up to do the recording arts, the sort of studio thing there, and that was very much me. It was
you found your place.
It was geeky. It was musical. You know, you could fiddle with knobs.
Great, man.
And then I had a wicked tutor there called Carlos Lelis, who went on to start up the school at Abbey Road. Now he heads that.
Right.
And I think I was one of two sort of teachers' pets, and he got us jobs. I went to Urban Chain, and the other one went to somewhere in Notting Hill or something. It's like a really nice studio there.
Okay.
So
nice.
he sort of got us to land on our feet a little bit.
That's very nice. It's great when you've got someone who, but on the other hand as well, I'm sure that you had the willingness and you showed initiative to be able to then be put forward.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd say about 80% of the class there were morons, and most people dropped out because, God forbid, it involved a bit of maths, and just like, I don't know, some people only listen to Britney Spears and then they go do a recording.
It's very frustrating. I had the same thing when I studied. When I started my degree, there were 24 of us in class. When I finished after 2 years, there were 7 of us.
Wicked.
And I'm the only one working in sound.
Yeah.
And I've had a teacher like that, Joe Clancy, fantastic guy, drummer, and there was a choice module, and the choice was between sound for film and work experience. And unfortunately, in democracy, I got outvoted. We did sound for film.
Oh, right.
So I went to him. I said, "Listen, if you've got anything whatsoever, let me know. I'm there." And yeah, he got me a gig with Nigel, with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra.
Sick.
Yeah, it was, and it was a paid gig. You know, first sort of work experience paid gig, and I met Tim there. And yeah, Tim was under the weather, and he asked me to mix the gig, so I mixed the gig. I've had some previous experience with sound. I started when I was 16 in a church.
What were you doing there? Mixing
sound, just recording the sermons and stuff.
Was it like one of those new born again?
No, it was Nederduits gereformeerde. It was one of those. It's Lutheran.
Okay, but it wasn't like where they have a kind of U2 backing band. Just
no,
they
were sometimes in the evening services there would be a band, not very often. But I mean, I just kind of got into it, and it was the value mic and some stuff, and we recorded all the sermons. So I would basically go in there, set it up, set the recording up, stick some Pantera on my headphones, and I'd listen to that when the sermons were going on. And
so
then
you learned nothing.
No, well, I learned some things. But yeah, I did that for a while, and that was fun. And then so yeah, when I did this Niger gig, I'd had some experience in the sound, and luckily, I did a good enough job that they started getting me back straight away. And yeah, that was it. And then because Bill Ashton, Miles's dad, he phoned me as I was finishing my degree, and he was like, go to meet Miles at Ronnie Scott's. They might have something there for you. And I went in, and they were like, do you know the LS9 desk? And I'm like, I can have a look over it. And they're like, go and sit upstairs and play with it for a bit, and then come back on Friday, and then you do the salsa.
Wicked.
And yeah.
What desk did they have downstairs then?
M7.
Okay.
Yeah, we had an M7. And that was sort of fairly new when I joined. And the LS9 upstairs. And yeah, my first salsa gig, 12-piece salsa band upstairs. You know, the space is quite small, but back then it was still sort of, you know, full on. And no sound check, and that was a nice...
No sound check.
No sound check.
Great.
Nice way of cutting your teeth.
Was it orientated the same? Because when I was a kid, I used to go to Ronnie's, and everyone says that the desk was over on the left, and I was like...
Or downstairs.
Was it?
Yeah, downstairs it was. As you come in, the foyer on the left, that's where the desk was, in a little booth. I was never there then. I mean,
stage was always in the same place.
Stage is always in the same place.
I used to go see George Melly, though.
The first time I went in there was after the refurb. I mean, where our booth is now, the desk was right next to that. Because where the booth is now, that used to be the coffee making place. So that was part of the kitchen back bar area. Oh, yeah. And we were right next to that in this little sort of tight little alcove. You squeeze in. And nothing around it, and there was a bar there. And with a little glass sort of screen that they put up a bit later because somebody dropped a glass of wine on the M7 once. And yeah, so that was the gig. Luckily, it was a smaller gig. So they ran and they got the LS9, just plonked it on top of the M7, plugged everything in, and they made the gig happen, luckily. And then they put the little glass thingy up. But so many times people would come to me and like, can I get a double rum and coke? I'm like, yeah, you can, if you go to the bar. I'm like, oh, what? Like, does this look like a bar to you? Do you see any? I mean, the drink that I have is mine. But there's no bottles or anything back here. Come on, man, go to the bar. Yeah. Can you get me one? Yeah, no, absolutely not. Go get a drink yourself.
At least I didn't take song requests or something.
Oh man, I have had that. Can you get the band to play this? I'm like,
can you get the band to play? Yeah, oh, they didn't think you were the DJ. They thought you were like running the shop.
Well, a few times I had the can you play this song? I said, there's a band on stage right now, and they make the music.
That's how this works.
Yeah. And I've had a few times like, oh, can you get the band to play this with a slip of paper? I'm like, I'm sorry. Do you not know how this works?
I was doing this like really kind of freaky, metrosexual, everything kind of crazy techno night in at RaRa Rooms. And, everyone gets dressed up and everyone's wearing fake this and PVC. And it was like a proper like sick night, and they kept saying, just stop dicking about all the nights, just strobe it all the time, that's all we want. And then the DJs were like these Dutch techno guys, and they're just doing that, and this girl came up to me, and the DJ's on stage in a booth that clearly looks like a DJ on stage, and there's loads of like just DJ stuff on stage. Yeah.
That's where the sound is coming from.
I can't emphasize that enough. They're under the speakers, and then I'm in my booth underneath the thing,
hiding away,
just sort of making sure the lights are always strobing. And then a girl comes up to me and says, "Do you have any Enrique Iglesias?" And it's like hard techno going on. And I sort of nodded and say, "Yeah, next song."
Brilliant. That's the best.
Yeah.
Did she keep coming back?
I think she was arseholed. She
didn't even remember that she...
She probably thought, yeah, this is my song. This is my jam.
This is my jam, Holmes. Yeah. Brilliant. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, so psychology into sound engineering, SAE, and then that's quite an interesting shift.
Yeah. It sort of works. I think, like you say, you've got to be a little bit of a psychologist, don't you? With sound
100%.
engineering, you're toying with so many egos and vulnerabilities and stuff, and you've sort of got to be the one to keep it all together, make sure it's all running.
That is one thing they don't teach you, is the management of people and musicians, which is a big part of our job. Apart from, obviously, you need to know what you're doing. Because, as we said before, the confidence factor is a big thing. If an artist walks into a place and there's already this and that and these and those, and if you're unsure in any way, then they're going to be like, oh, here we go. You know. And I think being a full-time musician who's been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years, they've had their fair amount of run-ins with a chef who moonlights as a sound engineer.
Yeah.
That, you know, and who are unable to do their job. So I suppose they're kind of tainted by that history and all that baggage of just shit gigs with shit engineers and bad places. And the reassurance that we can give them is I find that very important. I make a point of, when an artist comes in, you know, I'll go and I'll shake everybody's hand and say, hey, I'm T, I'll be your sound engineer. Whatever you need, let me know, we'll sort it out. Okay, we can make things work for you. You're not happy with this amp, let's change it around. Try and make them as comfortable as you can. But then obviously you got to have the sound right, because if you get feedback and things like that, immediately that trust is ripped away, and then it takes a long time to rebuild that. So I mean, it's always good to start right, but I think it's also it shows your ability. If it's not just if you can get it right, it's whether you can fix it. You know, and how quickly you can fix it.
But also like communicating confidence, but also like a sort of mutual awareness. Okay, this is a problem. I will fix it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As opposed to like hiding, like what problem? Or that was you, or something like that.
Yeah. No, and you get those guys. Yeah. Unfortunately, you get those engineers that they're like, yeah, this you made a mistake here. It's like, okay, and even if they did, maybe it's not the best way to cultivate a good working relationship if you start blaming a musician for the mistakes. Because already, I mean...
Well, I'll never do that, but in your head you're going, that was you.
Yeah, oh, yeah, 100%.
You put that mic in the monitor.
I had that on Monday, where I was doing at Boisdale it was for the Cuban Tourism Board. They rented out the whole place.
Okay.
Yeah, they do that once a year.
Right.
They rent out the whole place, and then they get, you know, Omar Puente, the violinist.
Yeah.
And normally, Omar plays with an electric violin. But on Monday, his violin wasn't working. Okay. Luckily, very luckily, he had his acoustic violin with him as well. And I've always got in my bag my DPA 1499, just for these kinds of emergencies.
Wow.
You know. And I'm like, okay, let's quickly sort you out, because it's 7:00. People are going to start coming in. We need to get a sound going. So stuck it on the bridge and did the sound check, fine. And then during the gig, because he's so used to playing a little bit and then he's directing the band, and then what he does is he needs loads in his monitor, and then what he does is he takes it off his neck and he puts it here. He's got two monitors in front of him. Whee! You know, and you know, you should know that a microphone so close to the monitors is gonna. And then I ended up just sitting there looking at him, and whenever he takes the violin away from his neck, I would just mute it.
Yeah.
So in a way, that was a little bit sort of, because now I have 7 other musicians on stage as well, which are all, you know, I want a bit of this, want a bit of that, but I can just look at Omar, you know, when he's gonna put the violin to his neck and when he's gonna run up to his microphone and sing something. So I mean, after the first or the second time, really, he should have known not to do that. But
he's used to something else.
So I spoke to him after the first half. I said, sorry about... And luckily, I mean, I know Omar a long time now, and we've worked together plenty of times. So I said to him, this is why this has happened. I'm really sorry, but you've noticed that it didn't happen anymore. It happened twice, and then after that, it didn't happen anymore because I'm looking at you, and it's like, oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that you know your attention.
Oh, lovely.
And so, yeah, it even though it was kind of his fault, it was also kind of my fault. I should have explained it to him. I don't think it would have made a difference because once he's in there and he's in the, you know, he gets the body moving, it just, the violin goes down every time because he never stopped doing that throughout the whole gig.
Fine.
But, you know, it was all fine and the gig went well. But even if it is a musician's fault, I don't think it's productive to point that out to them.
No. But I just meant if they're like, oh, why is there feedback? It's like, well, because you've just, you know, shoved the mic in the monitor, haven't you?
Yeah. You know, it comes back to the psychology of just explaining it to them in a nice enough way that they understand, you know, it's something that they've done, but, you know, we can work on it and you can try and sort it out. Or sometimes just taking the blame. I've many times just said, yeah, it's me. I'll fix it. I pinpoint that frequency. I know what it is. I pull it down. Try it now. Fine. Great. And I think that sort of, if you can show the ability to repair it and to fix the problem, you know, like that kind of, they were like, okay, this guy actually, yes, he made a little mistake. That's fine. But now it's sorted and, you know, confidence is back and we're okay. Everything is good. One of the things that Miles has always said is, you know, because there's a lot of, I don't know about now, but there used to be sort of this kind of jealousy from staff, you know, towards the sound engineers because, you know, we're a bunch of loose cannons running around, you know, we go for a pint after sound check and, you know, yeah. Right, but because
really nice to me.
No, they are. But you know, this was a bit before where they're sort of like, oh, why do you guys have all this freedom, and why are you getting paid what you're getting paid? And Miles's sort of answer to that is like, we're not getting paid for when things go right. We're the money that we're worth is when things go wrong, and we need to fix it.
Yeah, big time.
You know, in a second. So it's it's always the adaptability that we need to show, and the obviously knowledge and skills of our equipment but to be able to, if you've got a 32 channel mix or whatever, and there's one thing feeding back, you got to know what it is, and you got to sort that out straight away, without it becoming a problem, because there's a club full of people who've paid a lot of money to come and see the show, and also the musicians on stage. You don't want it to become a problem for them, so you need to fix that in a second. So I think that's
a good line. That I'm going to say that to everyone in every situation.
It's yours.
Why are you still in the pub? Because nothing's gone wrong.
Nothing's gone wrong yet. No, I can hear no no feedback, no PA solos just yet. I was going to tell a story now and I forgot. So, the studio stuff. Do you still do any kind of studio? What kind of stuff were you recording? You said it was a lot of grime and a lot of hip hop and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it was in Urban Chain, which is such a great name.
It's all in the name, right?
Well, it's because the boss likes doing mountain biking, so he's like, like Urban Chain. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a brand of mountain bike or something.
I heard Urban Chain and I went completely the other way. I was like bling bling hip hop, you know, somebody's got a gold chain on it.
Exactly. And sure enough, because it was in South London, it was in Penge, and which I thought was a made up name, but I think it's a place.
It's not a
Penge.
It's not another word for minge, is it?
That's what you think. But now also Peng. That's quite, that's a good thing. That's Peng fam. So it was down there, and lots of rappers down there, lots of drug dealers. So we did loads of rapper gigs, and it's near Bromley and stuff. So a big metal scene there, so got to do lots of metal, which was actually wicked. Because that's quite sort of precise recording and mixing techniques, and fucking years sort of replacing drums or whatever, getting samples and making your own and stuff. And there's quite a lot of admin that goes into making a metal mix. But then afterwards, you're like, you've made this, you've really built this house up.
This is my baby.
Yeah, it's cool. And then they're really good as well. Like they're really like the guys who take metal seriously. They're really professional. I mean, they're like really technical.
Yeah,
they know how to scream properly.
Yeah,
and then
our housemate Jamie sings in a heavy metal band. Growls, The Bleeding.
Right,
and really good. But I mean, he doesn't play guitar in this band, but he's an incredible guitarist, and just the technical ability and the. I'm a metalhead myself.
No shit.
And what gave it away? But the precision of these musicians, because you play at 230 BPM. You gotta get it right.
Yeah, the drummers are the weird ones.
So yeah, it's I think people kind of dismiss it very quickly. It's just angry noise.
Well, that's the only problem with me. Like, there's a lot of metal which is, no offense now.
No,
a lot of it is garbage.
100%. I'm not a fan of absolutely everything out there.
And then it's sometimes it's just too theatrical, but in a kind of musical theatre way.
In a cringy way almost.
And I don't see eye to eye with it. But then there is lots of but then there's also like theatrical metal that is cool, like Opeth, like all that sort of proggy stuff. And they're kind of smiling while they're doing it, so they know this is kind of cool.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's something fun about them. But there's a lot of crap. But then some of the bands that there was loads of shit bands that I did, and they'd obviously they loved one band, and so they just tried to replicate them, but they weren't very good at playing like 7/4 time on the drums, so it was really shit. And then I'd have to edit it all. Do all the drums, and then I have to edit it all and sort of add extra beats here and there and cut out half bars.
A lot of work.
And it's so much work, and then replace all of that.
And then you bring out an album, then they got to go learn their music again to play it right.
Yeah, but then they're using I don't know are there any letters below D? What's below drop D? They'd have such sort of floppy strings, and they're like, why isn't there any tone to this? It's like, because you're playing a rubber band, mate, and you're not any good at it either. You're sort of boof like it's a bow and arrow or something. And there's a lot of that's fine. That was all good. I was still learning. It was still good to do all that stuff and mess around and see what
it's fun, man.
How problems can be solved.
Studio work is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I mean, I've never been in a recording studio that much. Only sort of studio work I've really done was when I was working, doing the dubbing
and the film stuff.
Yeah, and I really did enjoy it, and I learned a hell of a lot. I mean, my Pro Tools chops got a lot better.
You stopped using a mouse.
Yeah. But I really did enjoy it. I went into study because I wanted to go work in a studio. But as fate would have it, I just found work immediately doing live. And looking back at it, I think I prefer the lifestyle and just the vibe of it a little bit more.
Live?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's late nights, it's antisocial.
Well, I guess I'm an antisocial person.
The money's better.
I think it's also the pressure and the you got to get it right. There's no take 2, there's no take 3. It's in the moment. You got to get it right.
Yeah, but the frustrating thing is, like you say, we're the problem solvers, and that I find that a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I like that.
But
I like solving problems and working things out and building and creating.
I do like that. But then I sort of want to be part of the process as well, and you can be to a degree, dicking about with the mix and the reverbs and all these things. But if you've got a new band in every day or a new group every day, you sort of, unless you know them well or you worked with them before, if it's a cold gig, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Then you can't go too far from what they're doing. But then
Yeah.
the studio, you can really be part of the process. You can really, you can really, produce things. You can completely change the vibe of things. And I like being part of the creative process big time, and I really do miss that.
Yeah,
from the studio.
I get you, man. Well, yeah, that's it makes a lot of sense. It really does. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'd never really. I'm sure I would enjoy it. I just never really had time to go and, I suppose, start over. Because even with the experience that I have, having to go and work in a studio, I would have to start at the bottom. I would be T-bitch for a while, and I would be, it would take.
Fuck.
Hello. Did you just get yourself shocked or something?
No, I just hit it. I just got frustrated.
All right, just like, fuck, this conversation is killing me. Right. So, have you got any bands that you work with currently? That you go on the road with? Have you got any pets?
I've got so I do front of house for a band called Blueprint Blues, who are wicked, and they are.
So they're a metal band, right?
No, they love Steely Dan.
Oh man, Steely Dan's awesome.
But they don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to describe them because they'll fucking kill me. I don't think they sound like Steely Dan.
Well, you don't have to sound like your inspiration.
Yeah, but they've got all the they do these really beautiful vocals, really and they're sort of like a really sort of woozy. I'm going to stop there.
They're great,
very good band, very great. Yeah, they do a lot of jamming sections where they sort of go off, and they often have to like sort of rein it in a bit because you only get like 30 minutes or 40 minutes slot, and it's like such a shame they could just keep a tune going for 10 minutes and you'd completely forget about time. Anyway, they're really nice.
Great, man.
And they're really nice guys. And so when they play, I tend to go with them.
Great.
But, they've just released their album recently. And I guess they're...
Were you involved in the recording of that?
No, not at all. A bit annoyed about. Rehearse. They rehearse in a recording studio with the guy. What is he called? Is he called Father Daughter? I don't know what he's called. He's got a pretty decent band himself, and he's a kind of producer. So they did it with him, and the record sounds wicked.
Awesome.
I think they did it all to tape. I've been there. He's got a big Atari 24 track. Atari, whatever. Yeah, I think they did it to tape. And I'll be honest, I wouldn't know how to do that.
Yeah,
I've got a full track Tascam special at home, and that's about as close to tape as I get.
Mm-hmm. Do you play music yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I used to be in some decent bands, but everyone got married or went AWOL or grew up or something, emigrated to Canada or something.
Okay.
And so each one is
They've all run away from you.
Yeah, but I don't know. I bumped into one of the guitarists from one of the bands the other day, and he's like, "I'm ready to get back into it." And I was like, "Yes, do it."
Awesome.
We've just got to find a drummer, and like no one plays drums.
I know it's one of the hardest things to find.
Well, we're surrounded by them in Ronnie's, but they're all jobbing musicians. They don't want to be in like vanity bands. They don't want to.
Well, I wouldn't call it a vanity thing. It's just, I think originals bands are really hard to put together. Because again, with the drummers and in the beginning, especially when you've got working musicians, they're not going to have time to go and then do the gigs that they don't get paid for, and a lot of them sometimes don't want to take the step back because then it's going from this glamorous life that they've got.
Do they?
Well, I mean, getting paid for gigs.
Yeah.
Right. Getting a wage.
They loiter a lot, don't they?
That they do.
They do the hang.
Yes, they do. But to then go back to being in a van and doing those sorts of things. So I think it's. But talking about drummers is a hard thing. I played in a metal band for a bit. I played bass. And the drummer was Danny, who was the sound engineer at Ronnie's before Mars took over. And
he was the drummer, did you say?
Yeah, he was the drummer. He was alright as a drummer, you know. He could keep
Terrible boss though.
right.
Well, I've never met the guy. Hey.
No, he taught me a few things, and he was kind enough to, because when I started at Ronnie's, I was number 5, because it was
What number are you now?
still no, I guess I'm
6.
4 now after, because it's Miles, Tim, Shahan, and then me.
Nice.
In terms of
Hierarchy.
length of time,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say hierarchy. I don't know. I'm just the same as everybody else.
Nice. Nice.
But back then, when I started, like I said, it was salsa gigs, it was Ruby Sings, it was the upstairs gigs, and it was sound checks downstairs. And I'd done that for a long time before I would be let onto a Sunday lunch. And I was, you know, juggling this and that, other work. I was still, because when I was studying, I was working for an events company quite a bit. So I did set dressing, building stages, lights. I did everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did everything.
That's pretty cool.
A lot of.
Is that why you're so good at tree houses?
I don't know. I've been building things since I could walk. You know, I've always. My dad's quite handy, and we always had tools around the house. And we, whenever we went on holiday, every school holiday, because both my parents are teachers. So whenever we had a holiday, they had a holiday, and we always went to my grandparents' house. And my grandfather had a garage full of tools and stuff, and there was always something to do and to make. And he had a nice big backyard with big climbing trees. And so my cousin and I, we always used to just build things. So it kind of just, it's always been a thing that I would make things. And I've always enjoyed it very much. To go and make something, and then you can see and touch the end result. And, be like, I did that.
It's hard though. Live music though, that's another difference between the recording thing, is that at the end you've got this record and you're like, I did that, listen to it. Whereas with the live thing, it's like, you weren't there, man. Or people remember stuff differently. Some people go, that sounded shit. Some people go, that was the best gig I've ever been to in my life. And you're like, no one will believe you.
Very subjective.
Yeah, big time.
And it depends on whether the pian's bad or not. You know, so many times you get like, I can't hear the piano in the mix. Sounds fine. Sure.
I know.
Can you turn it up a bit? I can do. But I'm not going to.
But then there's a difference of opinion. You're like, well, whose opinion matters most? Is it mine or is it the audience, the punter?
Well,
it's probably them, isn't it?
It is definitely them. But it is also, I think you need to take
Are they the wife?
reassurance.
In which case, maybe right.
You need to take reassurance in your skills. Because this is what you do.
Yeah.
Right? These people might be bankers or lawyers or whatever, right? And they're good at what they do. Right? I'm not going to go into their office and say, can you just change this report here or whatever? Something that I might have an inkling of what it is that they do, but it's not my thing. So always take what they say on board, but also with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
And it depends on their delivery. You know, if somebody comes up to you straight off the bat and be rude and demand, and then I'm much less likely to listen to what they say. Even though I always listen and I always I try and be courteous and give them the benefit of the doubt, because I'm not always on ball, right? I'm not always on the point. You know, we're people too, and we've got bad days as well. You know, I've had days where it could have been a great gig and it was okay because I hadn't had the great day myself. It was possible and it was fine, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. You know, and those things kind of haunt you for a while. That's why I'm always referring back. I'm always going to check. I'm always making sure that, you know, that it is what I think it is. I'll sometimes ask people, what do you think? Sound okay? Just to get a bit of a vibe. But when somebody comes with stupid requests, then you can just say,
I can't hear anything. Oh, come on, mate.
Yeah,
you can.
Well, I just, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing. This is my first day. You know, just do like Shahan and just say, fuck off.
Charlie's got a good one though. Charlie's,
or just push the DFA fader.
Yeah.
That's the best one.
Charlie says, where are you sitting? And then he'll come out with the iPad and stand by them and may or may not make an adjustment. But that's very...
That's very diplomatic.
He's very mature, isn't he?
Yeah. Charlie is very mature. He's he took the job under Danny after I left my full-time position, because I was going when I was doing all the shit shifts, and then Danny
Hey, there's no
wanted
shit shifts, man.
No, no, there's not shit shifts, but I mean, I was doing the mop up work for the what the guys couldn't do and what didn't want to do, because it was Danny, Miles, Tim, and Shahan, and then like I said, I was number 5 in there.
So it was the 5 of you doing everything?
That was it.
Okay.
Yeah, just the 5 of us.
A lot of work.
But then back then, also, when I started, there weren't any late shows.
Right.
Mondays to Thursdays, we closed at midnight. It was doors at 6, support at 7:30 till 8:15, and then 8:45. Main show does 2 sets, and then the support would come back on at 11.
Really?
And they play 45 minutes.
Wait,
and then
support had to hang around?
Yeah.
So they couldn't go do another gig?
But it was the Ronnie Scott's All-Stars.
Every night?
Every night.
Damn it.
Yeah, every night. Yeah, they were the club band, and they opened and they closed every night.
That is quite nice, though, having the club, the house bands.
Yeah.
And then you get a singer comes in and goes...
I kind of miss those days, because I'm good friends with all the guys. But I think it's a great thing as well that they give the support slot away as a platform for newer musicians. I think that that's a very good idea, because the whole thing about Ronnie's was to bring new people in. I mean, Ronnie started the club to bring American musicians over, because there was some
the union
ban
union issue.
Yeah, there was a thing that American players couldn't come over here.
They love a union, don't they?
Yeah, and British players couldn't go over there or something like that. And I mean, Ronnie started the club with he wanted the Americans to come over here. And I think what's been done now is a great thing to showcase newer musicians, to bring the up and coming talent in. And I mean, we've seen some crackers, some really good musicians that come through there, and young people like, for instance, Dave Marakpour.
Dave Marakpour.
Yeah, he's a young kid, and he's one of those.
The guy plays fucking everything.
Yeah,
he is wicked.
He jumped on last night
playing vibraphone
on the W3.
Yeah,
but he's a lefty, right?
Yeah, we'll play right-handed.
And he plays right-handed instruments upside down.
Yeah, he's such a
guitar, bass, whatever. And he just came in for a song last night in W3, the last song that they were doing. Bass, ripping solo. And just like, man, you're playing that thing upside down, and you're better than most people I know.
Mate, he's just everywhere as well.
And he's so lovely. Such a nice guy. It really
matter,
humble.
It doesn't matter which gig I'm at, or which festival I'm at, or which city. He's just loitering, waiting to get on stage, and then he'll know everyone, and he'll just get on stage, rinse it, and then
and just go back into the shadows.
Well, he's just always just hanging out.
Yeah,
he's
it's really good. No, I mean, things like that we get to see. We're very fortunate.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, so then
every gig's
Danny took me on for a year. He gave me the permanent job. So I've got a lot to be thankful for.
Thanksgiving's coming up soon.
That's right. Cut the turkey. Anyway, so that was that, and the whole, a lot of cruel tutelage, if you will, under Danny Kassane. But yeah, you were saying about finding drummers. That's how we got onto this. He departed the band.
That's such a good pickup. Well done. I completely forgot.
He departed the band, and then we were looking. Sam and I were looking for drummers forever, and it just didn't happen. So we sort of coerced him back for a bit. And I mean, the problem with that was when I joined the band, they had a whole album of material
ready to
go. It was sort of demo recorded before we were a quartet when we started. 2 guitars. That's why I didn't play guitar in this band, because they already had 2 guitarists. They needed a bassist.
Same with me.
So I just
play guitar. I just did bass for everyone.
Yeah, just jumped on the bass. and then one of the guitarists left, and then we were a trio, and then we were a duo, and then it's
just you.
And now I'm playing with myself.
Yeah, as per.
Yeah, it's morning routine. So you wanted to. What were these bands that we were playing in, and what kind of music were you making?
Well, one band came from the studio, from Urban Chain. They were like a sort of, White Stripesy, Black Keysy kind of group.
Black Keys are awesome.
Sick. And they didn't have a bass player. Well, they did have a bass player, but he was in not to say better band, more successful band that got signed, and then he pissed off and just sort of became,
as it goes,
pseudo semi-famous.
Okay.
I wonder what they're doing now. That other band was called Leo Gun, and they got signed by Yamaha. Yamaha set up a label,
okay,
and they had a studio in Nashville, and so they went and recorded this album, and it was, I don't know, I thought they were pretty good, but I don't know what's become of them. Anyway, so that bassist pissed off, and luckily I play guitar.
Yeah, you were right in there.
Bass is like 30% easier than guitar, isn't it? So I did that, and they were cool, and we got to play at the O2 Academy in Islington.
Great.
And that was cool, and supported. Have you heard of Sad Cafe?
No.
I'd never heard of them either, from the 80s apparently. And then apparently they were big. Spin Doctors was the other.
I know
the other
Doctors,
one.
yeah.
And then they're Canadian, aren't they?
Mm.
And that was funny. Did we do any other good gigs? I don't know. There was a I don't know. Something was going to happen. There was like they knew. They had some hookup with the Zombies manager, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you guys are right," because the band was wicked. Like the two guitarists were sick. They're brilliant guitar.
Your band.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just joined them as a.
What were they called again?
As a bass player. They were called the Hounds, and we changed our name to Black Corsair, and we recorded about an album's worth at Urban Chain and another place called Escape in Bromley, and they were so good. And also, one of the guitarists had this like mid-60s Strat that he was bequeathed by a deceased uncle, and I've never played a guitar like this. It was so fast. I mean, I don't know. I've been trying to find this neck. I've gone to Denmark Street and pissed everyone off there, and no one can help me. And he doesn't even know what it is either. Because
Smoke on the Water.
No, well, I don't know. But I hate songs. I don't like learning songs. So I forget what the name of all the. I can't play any songs on my guitar.
I'm terrible with that.
I can make a lot of really cool sounding noise, but none of it's conducive to an actual song.
I like writing quite a lot. I think when I was younger, it was because when I started playing guitar, I was like, man, Angus Young. I want to be in a band. I want to,
just riff it out.
I want to just
Did
get going. Started a band in high school. Played one show. The fucking drummer dropped out on the day, so it was just I grabbed the bass and the other guy grabbed an acoustic guitar, and we just did a couple of covers. Didn't go anywhere. No, we didn't do that one. We did a couple of Afrikaans songs, and we did some Kusko bass songs, and we did some Green Day and stuff like that. Just stuff you're into when you're 18.
The classics.
Yeah, the classics. And I don't know, somewhere along the line, looking at documentaries of bands, and because I've always been into music. It's been a big part of my life. Not as a musician, but the music itself. It just moves me. I just love it. I'm a fan of music. Not all music, but good music. In my opinion, obviously, everybody's got their own opinion. But somewhere along the line of me sort of practicing, and learning other songs, I kind of got to thinking it's fun learning new songs, and I would like to play different songs. I think it was when I was reading Kurt Cobain's diaries, when he was.
He gave you his diaries.
Yeah, he's sent them to me, with the shell that he didn't use himself. Anyway, so his biggest thing was that he got towards the end, he just got pissed off with having to play the same songs over and over. And every gig I go to of bands that I really love obviously they're going to play those same songs. And I kind of got to thinking to myself, do I really want to be playing the same songs 300 days of the year for 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years? You know, obviously you're going to add to your catalog, but there's always going to be those songs that you have to repeat. And if you do it 300 nights a year,
it sucks.
You're going to get, it's going to become
Routine.
Yeah.
Non-emotional.
And I had this sort of thing. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that that's what I want to do.
But you've got to write more good songs.
Yes, 100%. But like I said, there's always going to be, even because if I have to do the same thing 300 days of the year, already I'm bored. And if I have to do that for 10 years, 20 years in a row.
It's a job, isn't it?
But for me, playing guitar and creating, that's the fun. It's like, wow, it's amazing. But then having to go and do the same thing again, the same thing. And it would be hard to keep any kind of authenticity in a performance or in a show. And I'd seen too many sort of shows that were the same show, where people do the same jokes in the same place and the same. And I was
is that in jazz? Like, because jazz is a very smooth.
It happens a lot, yeah. But then also, you know, you see people, they just do the same things, and I didn't want to do it. So I'm like, I like playing my guitar. I love playing my guitar, and I like to write music. And I'll record things and I'll write things, and then I'll forget about it. And for me, it's just the pleasure of the creation, you know, and putting it out there and being really excited about an idea, and then putting it down, and then getting the lyrics down, and then programming the drums and everything, and then I'm like, great, and then I'll kind of move on. But I would never want to play that song, even though I think it's great. But after I've played it for a month, I'm like, I wouldn't want to play this every day for a year.
Yeah, but if you've got a band of mates and like you're on stage, I can't tell you how much fun.
Oh, it is fun.
It really is.
It
doing
is fun.
That. And I would happily. And a lot of the songs that they were doing with this with Black Corsair, it's just riff after riff after riff, and ultimately, they were wicked riffs and stuff. But they are just like, it's just like pentatonic riffs and stuff. It's like heavy, blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of easy, a little bit obvious, and everyone was like, they had like perfect rock vocals, and they're really good guitarists, and it was a very what's the word without. It wasn't exactly the most intricate, the most sort of clever. It wasn't perfect circle or anything like that. It was just very like straight up, boof. Yeah. Here we go, and that was it. I'd just get pissed before and just rock. And I was playing one note at a time of 4 strings. It was a piece of piss for me. They're the ones who had to sing in tune and things and play guitar solos at the same time and worry about pedals. I just like fannied around, sort of tearing my shirt off and
brilliant
being an arsehole.
I wish I could have seen that.
And that's it. Well, there is evidence.
No, there is. I mean, I do agree with you, and that is obviously the fun part. Playing on stage is just there's nothing like it. But that for me was the initial thought process of maybe, and all the work that I need to put into becoming the guitarist that I wanted to be. There was a lot of work that was involved, and I'd gotten really busy with work, and that kind of trailed away, and then that dream sort of kind of withered and died. And I've always said, if I can't be a musician and a creator, then I still want to be involved in music. And I'd had the sound engineering background, and I enjoy what I do very much. And I like especially with the live sound, I really do enjoy the new challenges every day, the new, having different bands and meeting new people, making that show work and see, and I suppose maybe it's even a kind of a selfish reason, to want to give and do your best and then get a good result out of that. So I really do enjoy that. I mean, I did, The Damned.
Yeah.
Right. I did the monitors for them the other day. The London Palladium.
Sick.
And I mean, that was great. I went in cold, right? I was hired in to do the monitors by SSE Audio. I've got a friend that he's a hire coordinator there. And I was just, there's a monitors gig. They've got all their own equipment. Just go in and push some faders around. I'm like,
They didn't have a monitors guy. The damned.
They didn't have a monitors guy.
Huh.
They didn't have crew. They had a front of house guy and they had a guitar tech. And they themselves weren't too happy about the shortness of crew. Anyway, so I get in there and there's massive stage being built. The drummer was on a riser and it was this massive theatrical show. It's called House of a Thousand Vampires or Night of a Thousand Vampires. Mm-hmm. And they got all dressed up and everything, and they were like enactments on stage that were very much Interview with a Vampire, vampires and people being killed on stage and stuff. It was fucking awesome.
It's wicked.
Right, yeah, and people swinging on ropes. But now the hard part about this fucking gig was they had an X32, mm-hmm. right, which was programmed in for the band's in-ear monitors.
Right.
And one of the solo violinists, because they also had a string orchestra with them.
Of course.
Just a 7-piece,
sure.
Luckily. And 2 solo violinists who were on radio packs. Mm-hmm. Now, the one girl came to the rehearsal. The girl solo violinist. Mm-hmm. She came to the rehearsal and she was dialed in, and they had just one slot left on the desk for her as an X32. Yeah. And then I got there, and there was also an SC48, Avid SC48 desk. And so it was being split into both desks, and I had to run the monitors from 2 separate desks.
Right.
Yeah. So I had to run the other solo violinist from this desk and the string orchestra, their monitors from that desk, and also the 2 stage wedges from that desk. And that was...
So everyone was on in-ears, and then they had 2 side fills or something?
No, the band were on ears. Mm. Quintet, 5 of them. Then the 2 solo violinists were on ears. Mm-hmm. But then I put out 4 sort of hotspot wedges for the string septet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I had 3 stage monitors, because there was a trumpeter as well, which got added as I was trying to start. But that was one of the more challenging gigs of my life, right? And then to top it all off, above the X32, where kind of my main position was, over my shoulder, literally over my shoulder, was the rope for the trapeze artists.
Okay.
Right. So every now and then, when the people need to go up, I've got 7 people from the House of Horrors behind me pulling on a rope and pushing me out the way. And then I'm doing the, 2 desks and I'm ducking down to, to not get decapitated by a fucking rope.
That's great.
But at the end of the day, after the gig, they were all happy with the job, with the work that I did, and they thanked me. And I got a great sound, good job, mate, from Jimmy Page.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was
But you didn't think that was going to happen?
No, I didn't. The other time,
Jimmy Page.
Yeah, Jimmy Page, man. Yeah, wow. He walked past, and I was sort of coiling cables, like, you did a great job there, man. Yeah. Good work. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Who was he with?
He was with his daughter.
Was it his daughter?
Yeah, I think her name's Scarlett something.
What, does she have red hair?
Nick knows her. Nick Foot knows her quite well.
Okay.
I don't know. He walked past and I got he said good job and that was it. Yeah. Went blind for a while, just right after the O face. I think the other one that I had that was a nice compliment was from Paul McCartney when I did James in the Barfly.
Peace and love.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're T, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, good job on the sound, mate. Really good job. I'm like, that's it. Thanks, man. You made my year.
Hey, call me Dr. Mac. He doesn't talk like that, does he?
No. I'm terrible with accents. I can't even do a South African accent properly. Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. Just before we wrap this up, I want to know about your trip to the Arctic Circle.
All right.
Talk to me about that. What did you go and do there?
A Polish friend of mine, we went up that volcano in Tenerife a couple of years ago, and both of us sort of like, borderline,
psychotic,
high functioning alcoholics or whatever.
Right.
Working in hospitality and entertainment and stuff. You sort of
it is had its pitfalls. Yeah.
You work in this really. It's like a party vibe, but you're not partying, you're working. So afterwards, you kind of you've just experienced all this
There's
excitement, and
you got to release.
You kind of debrief, don't you?
Mm.
And I think we both got bored of the sort of almost ritual of drinking after work. So we started doing these kind of
Trips.
Trying to take back, our physical selves and life and the world and all that. So we kind of that volcano, and that was actually quite easy, but it was really beautiful. You get rewarded immediately for doing these things. You climb 10 minutes and you look behind you, and you can see even more of the world.
It's fantastic.
Anyway, and he put some other ideas on the table, and then he just said, let's go to the Arctic, because he'd already done loads of research, and a lot of Polish people do this holiday. So he'd obviously been looking at all the YouTube videos of stuff. He bought a drone for it, and like GoPros and all that stuff. He got all the gear, and so I was like, oh, sick, we'll just do that. And so we went to Svalbard, which is Norwegian archipelago up in the Arctic Circle there. And it doesn't sound it's not as kind of like mad and crazy as the Arctic. Because we all think the Arctic's some sort of inhospitable land, but it's not. I mean, it is, but it's not as well. It's beautiful. It's like Lord of the Rings this time of year at least. So it's summer. Well, now it's winter. But
Did you see any hobbits? Were they hiding?
That's racist.
Oh, all right.
Sorry,
in this you can't really say anything anymore, can you?
Oh yeah, we've been through this, haven't we? Saw a lot of snowflakes.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Nice. No, saw lots of reindeer. Saw some.
Did you go hunting out there? You didn't.
No, but you've got to carry guns with you, because there's maybe polar bears,
yes.
but of course there aren't, because they dine, and they like fish, and they like the cold, and they like ice, and it was.
But they are known to hunt people.
They'll eat them. Well, they're hungry. They're starving. Of course, they'll eat whatever they see. But I don't understand why they don't eat the reindeer. Or maybe they do, but the reindeer they're not scared of anything.
I think the reindeer are too fast.
Yeah, but they follow you. They come quite close to you because they're curious.
Oh, really?
And a curious animal is an animal without a predator above it.
Yeah.
So is it?
Or maybe they're just cocky. They're like, whatever, I can get away from it.
Yeah, but polar bears are fast.
Not as fast as a deer, I wouldn't think.
Do you think so?
I don't know. I might be wrong.
Like grizzly bears, they're really fast, aren't
Grizzly
they?
bears.
They chuck it. Yeah. But then I was thinking, if we saw a polar bear, just run up the mountain. Just get on the side of a cliff, because if a polar bear
blend into the surroundings.
Well, no, because it's like sheer rock and stuff. But maybe I don't know.
They can climb. You know that, right?
Well,
they climb quite well.
Man, I'll be honest. I didn't do a lot of research before I went there. They gave us this like World War II Mauser, and they're like, "Do you know how to use this?" And I was like, "Of course not. I'm not German, and this isn't a war." And but it's a beautiful gun though. And then we've got flare guns. They were cool. And then lots of lots of food. And then were you
camping out, or were you staying in a hotel?
No, it's wild camping. So there's nothing there. There's like this little town, and then you go out into the glaciers, and you just hike for as long as you want, for as long as you
can,
as much food as you've got. And we had a map, but I didn't get a very good ratio map, so it was a bit zoomed out, if you know what I mean. So the finer details, like where it's possible to pitch a tent if there's no glacier. Stuff like that wasn't there. So we would be walking for, like, sometimes also it's perpetual daylight. So you never had darkness against you. You could always see, except for when you're in the cloud, and then you got lost, which we did several times. And then, so you'd be walking for like sometimes upwards of 16 hours because there was nowhere to stop. There's like marshland, or there's like sheer, like, granity rocky stuff like volcanic rock or whatever, or there's glacier, and none of it's very conducive to sleeping. So that was a bit like, oh god, I've got to keep walking, and your hips are giving up and all that shit.
It sounds like fun though.
I definitely do it again.
Yeah,
I'd probably do it with some other people, but I'd do it with I'll definitely go with Martin again, my Polish mate, because he is like old father time, and he doesn't nothing bothers him.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great, man. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good test of willpower and sort of sound mind and all that. And I think that's why I did it.
Just to recenter yourself and refocus.
Just to refocus my hatred onto to somebody else.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, he knows who he is.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Brilliant, man. So you've been doing these trips with him annually for a while.
Those are just the two we've done.
Okay.
I think the next one he was talking about is there's some island, right, in the Philippines, right? Get this. And it's very hard to get to, and nobody lives there. But all the pirates used to hang out there back in the day.
Right.
And apparently there's loads of stuff there, like old muskets. And
nice.
Because it's inhospitable. And if you can get onto it, there's just like loads of shit, like cannons and chests. And that's what he tells me.
Okay.
And if I don't do any research, that's what I'll believe until I get there.
So it'll be the same as the Arctic Circle then. No research until the moment.
Yeah, like Brits of the world.
At least you're living in the moment. You know, you're taking a chance. That sounds like fun, man.
Yeah.
Do they allow hunting up there in the place where you were?
Oh no,
No, they let you just shoot the deer.
Hunting what?
Deer.
Reindeer.
Yeah, why not?
I think they might.
I
be
think
protected.
Santa can spare a few.
I think they might be protected. No, it's a wild country. It's a wild land. I don't think there's any. There's fishing,
Of course,
but
it's not like the fucking fish are being killed out of the oceans.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I don't think there's a lot of fishing. I think it might be quite small fry stuff for like the villagers, I guess.
Right.
There's loads of like bird sanctuaries. Like the whole thing's like protected. Loads and loads of birds.
All right.
And then
So it's
there's
park.
Walruses. I found a walrus tusk. That was
Brilliant.
Pretty cool. There's loads of like reindeer skulls everywhere, and there's loads of like ruined miniature settlements because the whole, as far as I was concerned, the whole island is coal, just like actual charcoal. You tear a bit of grass off the top, plonk your hand in, and you'll pull out a brick of coal.
Fantastic.
That you can just set fire to if you want to see. Well,
Wow.
apparently not meant to.
Yeah.
But needs must.
That's right, mate. Yeah, gotta cook that meat.
But what else? Yeah, no, I don't think you can do hunting there. No. There's barely any vegetation.
Yeah, I've been.
There's mushrooms.
About good mushrooms.
Yeah, there's edible mushrooms. Not a lot of them, but there were, and you've got to sort of identify. I'm rubbish at mushrooms because I don't really like them. I don't really understand them. I don't trust them. They don't look right.
Have you had bad experiences with mushrooms?
Only great ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't like the taste.
Oh well, you got to suffer a little bit for that. All that fun, man. It's a small price to pay.
Yeah.
For enlightenment.
It's about this time of year now, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can go.
Should go
eat mushrooms.
Picking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just for. No, I've been thinking about getting into hunting again.
Hunting what? What is it that you want to kill?
Everything. No, it's for food. I'm not for trophy hunting.
No.
I grew up with, hunting for food.
You did a bit of deer stalking in Scotland.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of that.
They do that, yeah. You can do that here, actually. I just found out recently you can, it's not that expensive. But I think I'm going to make my aim, excuse me, to go bow hunting. I think I want to get my skills up first.
You have to do that in the Americas.
Or in Europe.
They
allow it in Denmark, and I think Denmark's the closest place that I'll probably, maybe in France, I don't know. I need to do a bit more research, but I think I'm going to set my goal to get myself up to that level, and then I'll go and do that then.
What? Would you
deer?
Do boar?
Deer? Boar? Yeah.
Would you do boar?
Boar's delicious. Yeah, man. Why not?
You hit a pig with an arrow.
Yeah.
Poor little blighter. I don't know. They're kind of like fat little guys, and I just can't imagine the arrow would, get much damage. Whereas the deer is kind of a leaner, sort of flatter machine, isn't it?
You've seen the damage to that target with an arrow, and this is only a 55-pound bow. Once you get up to the proper hunting bows, those things they'll go straight through
that pig is
an animal.
fucked.
Yeah, straight through an animal. I mean,
And then what? You get them on your back, and you sort of do you blood yourself? Is that a vibe? Putting blood all no, because that's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Back in SA, there's the thing, and then you eat the raw liver.
Yeah, but we still do
just
that
a
now,
bite
don't
of
we?
it.
Just a bite.
No, at least you have to take a bite.
Foie gras, that sort of thing.
I don't know. Foie gras is duck, isn't it?
Goose, but it's like raw goose liver, isn't it?
Oh, okay. it's not my thing.
Smells like ass.
A lot of good things smell like ass, like we said before.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
get some nice cheese and
got to
stuff.
get it in the mouth and you're fine.
Once it's in there, it's fine. Just close your eyes and get in there.
Think of England.
Or, you know, wherever you're from.
South Africa,
Wherever you're from.
Yeah.
Do it for your country.
Right, yeah.
Do it for yourself.
Wherever that may be.
Oh, yeah. Lovely. Man, this has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I will add links and stuff in the description. People can get a hold of you and see what. Have you got anything exciting that's coming up with the
Blueprint Blues?
Yes.
I haven't heard from them for a while.
Oof. Okay.
I hope they're all right. They've all got proper jobs though, so
okay.
that might be a thing.
Okay. All right.
And also, maybe no one wants to really go touring in the winter. It's cold, isn't it?
Mm.
And I don't know.
You just got to pucker up, man.
Yeah.
I start my day with a cold shower, and that gets me ready for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit, man.
I know.
All right, so you just
I don't think I've got anything. I don't have any link. I don't really do social media.
no.
Quite hermetic.
I had to, unfortunately for this thing, start social media. I've been off Facebook for nearly 2.5 years. I just had enough of it.
If you can get onto one of those WhatsApp groups, you know, I'll be there.
There's a
the no bants one or something.
there's oh my god, the whole thing with the C word. I was just like, come on, man. This is I was gonna write, you know, this is an adult group where sometimes people use adult words, and if you can't stomach a word that's not even directed at you, maybe you shouldn't be here.
Mm.
And then and then luckily Gareth thinks it's his group, so he's just taken over there.
Well, I think the thing, you don't really need to answer any of it. It's just like, you know, people come and go all the time, don't they?
Yeah.
You notice that?
Yeah.
Always people leave and not, like in the middle of nothing, like when no one said anything, they'll just leave. I wonder why that is. But I reckon if you just don't respond to anything,
that's the best way. No,
yeah, and then they can leave if they want.
They can leave if they want. Yeah. No, I thought I needed to get in there because this poor guy had basically just posted the rules, which wasn't even written by him, and then there was all these like thumbs up and the hand clapping and the this and the that, and then he left. Right?
Why?
I think maybe he was
Because of the thumbs
feeling
up.
threatened or something, because there was like 5 or 6 people in a row that like, yeah, word up, yeah, no, I was thinking that as well.
Isn't that good? Oh, wait.
No, they're supporting the guy saying, please let's not use the C word.
Oh, right. And then he did leave.
The guy who posted the rules then left.
Right, posted the rules.
There was a bit of banter going on. There was a bit of
no
back and-
banter.
There was a bit of back and forth between two guys because not all the details were posted about the job. Right, sorry. I started a WhatsApp group for engineers where people can post jobs.
Yeah, good.
And it's kind of grown into a bigger thing. It's got 200 and something members at the moment.
Beyond
and
our means now.
The rules are that you post a job as accurately as you can with all the details that you can, and the only time people have to respond to the person who posted the job via private message, because otherwise if 200 people start going off on a group chat, people are going to get annoyed. So there was a bit of back and forth between two guys, and then one person just reposted the rules where it says, please keep all the chatter in private messages, just post the job and be as accurate as you can, blah, blah, blah. And
But with a lot of swearing.
But in the rules, there's the C word, which I won't say because YouTube doesn't like that C word. Anyway, and then somebody had posted, please can we refrain from using this word? And I think it's rubbish. You know, it's a word. It's a fucking word. You know, it's not even directed at you. So how can you get offended by something that's not directed at you? It's like, oh, somebody's throwing poo over there. I'm offended by it. It's like, it's just stupid. Anyway, and then the guy had left, and I sent him a message the next day. I said, listen, I'll re-add you to the group because I think this is rubbish. We've sorted this out now. And luckily Gareth had taken initiative to say, no, the word stays. If you can't handle it, go. You know, because great jobs are getting advertised on this thing. You know, people are actually finding it very useful.
I got
And
a
it
cracking
seems-
job out of that once.
It seems quite busy. There are jobs going every day, which are good jobs, and I think it's been a success for what I intended it to be. It became a success.
Do you think you should start another one?
Just for bands?
Well, no, no, there already is one.
Or there
already is one.
yeah.
Like, no gigs. There should no, but what I was thinking, I don't know. Like rather than letting everyone be an admin and add everyone,
I didn't
get maybe like 10 people to admin, and then all you got to do is say, "Can I add this bloke?" And then they say, "Can you vouch for him?" Yes, okay. Be it on your head, he's in, or she.
Well, I mean, I think we could probably just alter the rules and just take admin away from those who don't.
Yeah, but now you've got to go through it, and 200 people, you've got to de-admin or something like that.
I can do it.
I don't even have to do. I've seen.
I do have quite a bit to
Yeah,
do.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, shit. What are you going to do? Maybe not. I'll get Gareth to do it because he seems to love adminning that group very much.
He does love the power, doesn't he?
Oh, Gareth. Love the guy. Right. Thank you very much for coming. I really enjoyed it. And yeah,
likewise.
We've both got a fucking
Great.
head. I got to go. I've got a sound check at Ronnie's.
What's the time
So I've got to
now?
leave in 15 minutes.
Okay.
And you got to go to Boisdale.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Peace out.
Right. Well, there we have it. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I have. I will be including links in the description of how you can get a hold of Charlie and start building your database of great engineers and good people on here. So, yeah, thank you very much. As always, like, subscribe, share, do whatever you want with it. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.